Before the pod gets started, go ahead and leave us a rating on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever else you listen to the pod. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. We are back. It has been 2 weeks since we've sat down to record a podcast, James. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Yeah, not too bad. Sorry we were away for a while, but thanks to those that checked in with us and made sure we were all right and showed us a bit of love. That was very
Yeah.
nice. Just couldn't make it work, could we, mate? We're busy people for that week and just couldn't sit down, and we didn't want to rush something out or put something out there that was sort of so far after events had happened that it wasn't worthwhile. So
Yeah.
decided to park it and come back fresh today, didn't we?
Yeah, we did indeed. And today's a little bit of a special episode because we're going to go through all three of the games that have happened since the last podcast. So we've had Birmingham at home, West Brom at home, and Leeds away. And in particular Watford fashion, we've had a win, a draw, and a loss, James. So
Yep.
we'll get started we'll start with Birmingham, shall we? So, couple thoughts from Birmingham, James?
I mean, I didn't watch any of that game. I was enjoying my time down at Wentworth watching the golf that day, so I didn't watch any of it. But I obviously saw the highlights. I think the key thing for me was we managed to get the win. Rajovic with the goal, and obviously Andrews with his first for the club. But I kind of got the impression that it was a little bit like what we'd seen previously, in that we did give up a few chances that had to rely on Backman to keep us in the game, and then we managed to get it over the line at the death, which I think was really important for us. But yeah, so I mean, did you watch the game? Did you?
Yeah, I did watch the game. It did feel a little bit like, at times last season where we'd just be attacking all game. A bit like Preston at home towards the end of the season. We'd just sort of
Yeah,
be attacking all game and it didn't feel like anything was going to come. And then I think the most important thing that happened was that we finally put a good ball into the box and Rajovic got his head onto it. It was a great header, by the way.
very, very
Literally,
good.
he's facing away from the goal and he's managed to flick it into the top corner. So unreal header, but I think that genuinely shows that the value of his transfer, is going to be rewarded if you put a good ball into the box. We'll talk about like Leeds and West Brom in a few minutes, but I don't think we had the quality in either of those games, particularly to get the ball into the box. Obviously, we scored twice against West Brom with really fantastic goals, but I'm talking about the quality of crossing into
Yes,
that area for Rajovic. Neither game had that, and I think it was just that one bit of quality. I think it was from Asprilla, the cross for
it was.
Rajovic's
Yeah,
header.
yeah.
But I think that one bit of quality allowed Rajovic to really come alive and score a great header. Then obviously brilliant for Andrews to get his first goal for the club, so well done to him.
Yes.
And yeah, overall, it was, I think on balance, we deserved to win. I'm not sure we'd have got the win if Birmingham hadn't gone down to 10 men, because I think there was a lot of space opened up after that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
a
think we
solid
forced
win.
it. It
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't like a moment of madness, was it? From was it Buchanan who got sent off? It
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't like he just decided to go 2-footed into somebody. I
No,
think
no,
his
two
first yellow
yellows, yeah.
card was we got him behind him and sort of he pulled the player back, and then Asprilla turns him and was away. So I think that was, we forced the red card basically through being a bit, being positive and
Yeah,
attacking
yeah, yeah.
the fullbacks,
I
which
don't
I
think
think
there's any questions over both yellows. In my opinion, they were
no,
definitely
oh, none
both yellow
whatsoever, mate.
cards. But yeah, I do like that. I think it did come from. I think it was Tom Delibashu just driving through the heart of their midfield that
Yeah, that's right.
caused the first yellow, and then obviously Asprilla puts the ball through his legs and then gets onto it afterwards, and it's pulled back. So very positive attacking, and yeah, I think we just. I just feel like we're kind of lacking in the finishing department. We create a lot of chances, which obviously is brilliant. We didn't even create chances last season, so it's fantastic that we're getting into those areas. Just need a little bit more quality. I think the
Mm.
decision making and composure is something that in a young team is lacking, um, which is kind of showing here. It doesn't always feel like Andrews quite makes the right decision. Same with people like Asprey. They're very young. They're only 18 and 19. So um, it's only natural that with game time that decision making will improve and they'll get better over time. But
Indeed, yeah.
we're part of a rebuild right now, so we're not expected to storm the championship or anything like that in this season. But overall, Birmingham, there were definitely some positives. Yeah. So
Indeed.
James,
Mm.
moving on to West Brom. Now you were
Yes.
at the Vic on Wednesday night.
Yeah, brave the weather.
First question is, how was the rain?
Biblical, I think is kind of what I mean. Yeah, for those that weren't in the ground, I didn't watch. I haven't seen the highlights back or anything like that. But I don't know how it came across on sort of TV and Hive
Mm.
Live and that. Yeah, at points in that second half, it was actually quite difficult to sort of see clearly the other side of the ground. It was
Yeah.
it was sort of that strong, you know. We were sat up in the Serato and John stand, sort of quite near the back, and water was still sort of dripping through.
Yeah. Yeah.
People were getting wet even under the stand.
Mm.
It was very 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 heavy rain. Um, I actually found out that that was the remnants of the hurricane that hit the States a couple of weeks ago, and it had blown over the Atlantic. So yeah,
Oh wow.
it was hurricane rainfall that was splashing down on us, and I think that really did impact on the second half of that game for both
Yeah,
teams. I'm not going to
definitely.
lie.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so very very wet. But it was a very interesting game as well. Sat there, long term listener, long term friend of the pod, Nicholas
Mm.
was with us.
Yeah.
Uh, on that day and started very well. Really nice goal from Tom Ince, but
Yeah.
the build up to the goal was nice. And this is going to become a little bit of a theme. I will suggest because the build up play was sort of quick and incisive, and there was just nice quick passing across the
Oh yeah.
box, and it
Yeah.
just fell
Yeah.
nicely to Tom Ince, and he curled it in over the top and um, started really well. And then we did the Watford implode button.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. We
couple
haven't
of things that
we haven't
I'd like.
actually hit it this season yet, so it was
No,
a
no,
bit of a
but
shock to the
we're
system.
shocked to the system. But I think even the most positive of Watford fans, myself included, would say it's probably been coming at some point.
Mm.
Oh, actually, to be fair, Coventry, we did decide to just
Oh, we
Wesley
did give
hoofed
them
it
two
into
goals. Yeah.
the top corner. Um, yeah, we decided to hit the implode button. Both goals coming from errors at sort of the fullback position. Not really nice to sort of call them out on it, but Ngaki gave the ball away and then gave the free kick away, and we were sat sort of side on to it, and we just knew it was going to come in, and
Mm.
all he had to do was put it on target, and it was going to be a massive problem for Backman. And I don't think he covered himself in glory with that free kick in particular,
No. No. No.
especially where the ball went in the net. Really, it looked very straightforward. But we shouldn't have given the free kick away in the first place because we had the ball under control, and Ngaki sort of gave the ball away and then had to give the foul away. And then 2 minutes later, I don't really know what Morris was doing either. He tried to control it with his knee and sort of got pickpocketed. And it was a great cross and finish, but again, the ball shouldn't have really been in that area to be lost.
No. No.
Um, and then we sort of sat there 2-1 down and sort of a bit flat. And then we gave Martins the ball, and Martins did what he does best, and he just attacked and ran at the defence. West Brom sat off. They didn't really know what to do. They don't want to foul him, and he just whipped it into that bottom goalkeeper's sort of bottom left corner. And then we're sat there 2-2, and then for the remaining 70 minutes, really, barring a couple of breaks
Mm.
from West Brom, it was kind of all us really. Um, so it was a bit of a frustrating game because I think, to be honest, from my perspective, in the second half, I felt we were too slow.
Yeah.
I felt we slowed the play down too much, and we didn't really put them under too much pressure. Yes, their keeper had to make a couple of good saves, with a really good save actually
The
from
the
Kone
Kone
header,
header. Yeah.
um, which came from an Esprit across, which is becoming a bit of a theme, really. So, barring a good save and maybe placing a header in a slightly different area, but it's with the game being at that speed, it's very difficult to do. Granted, I think we probably should have gone on and won that game, but I think it's worth saying just how. Yes, I dug him out for the free kick a little bit there, where his position was, but Backman made some very, very important and good saves that game. So
yeah.
I think if you look at it, he's earned us a couple of points this week, probably 4 points, I think, because Birmingham. I think if Birmingham score that free kick, the one I'm talking about, where they had that double save.
Yeah.
I wonder whether or not they would have sat deep and made it very, very difficult for us to get anything from the game. So I think if they score that, they possibly go on to win that game. And West Brom could have won it at the death, with some balls in behind over the top, which I think we'll talk about Leeds in a minute, but I think that's where we're weakest is pace.
Yeah.
We don't really have the pace at the back to deal with a ball into the channel or a ball over the top, and that leaves us struggling a little bit. But that was my take on the West Brom game.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Really, I couldn't actually tell how heavy the rain was on Hive Live. It did look particularly wet.
Yeah, it's very, very heavy.
Just judging by the fact that everyone had sort of moved away from the front sort of 15 rows of the Serato and John stand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
I've decided I'm going to start a campaign of nonsense refereeing on this pod. So those who are listening, get in the comments or let us know what you think. But I'm getting really sick and tired of referees in the Championship waiting for the last 10 minutes of a game to start doing something about time wasting or dissent or those kind of things that the EFL said they were going to clamp down on, which they don't, because they're clearly scared of making a decision that will affect the game later down the line. But in the West Brom game, there was an issue in the first half where West Brom gave a foul away, and one of the midfielders sort of just started waving his arms around and got right up in the referee's face, and the referee told him to go away, and then Loser did it in the last 10 minutes of the game, and got booked straight away. I just think the inconsistency of refereeing in the Championships is really starting to wind me up, and I'm getting really annoyed by it. So I'll leave that there. That was a bit of an aside, but yeah, I really wanted to get that one off my chest because I was getting really wound up by it.
You get it off your chest there.
And also another thing.
Oh, crikey!
Added time. If somebody can explain to me how there were 4 goals in the first half against West Brom, and they only added 3 minutes on. And there was a couple of injuries and fouls and free kicks and stuff like that. It's a joke.
Yeah,
sorry.
I do
I've
actually.
been away for 2 weeks and I'm a bit pent up.
No, I do actually kind of agree with that. To be fair, it does just seem like
You're not telling me
the
4 goals.
Yeah, the extreme minutes added on was there for the first match week, and then it's just sort of not happened since.
Given up on it.
It does. It's like 4 or 5 minutes, but what the first match there, 12 minutes added on. I think they're just adding it on for everything, and now it's kind of like they're just letting things go. And I actually kind of agree about the whole dissent and time wasting thing. It kind of feels like they're kind of mixing the rules together about leaving the time wasting, because then they'll just add it on at the end. But then they can't just suddenly start booking players, with 5 minutes to go. It has to be consistent through the whole game.
Yeah, because West Brom were really bad for it in the first half, by the way. They were, and the manager Corberan was extremely animated.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's West Brom.
No, I agree. I wanted to say about that Kone header. I think it's so unfortunate. He's not scored for Watford yet. He did have a bit of a one-on-one in that game as well, which he missed quite badly.
It went for power when he just needed to dink it. Unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, but I just, he's done everything right with that header. He's come steaming
Yeah,
through both defenders. He's headed
yeah.
it, what you think is like down into the ground. Keeper's made a worldie of a save.
Very good goalkeeper. Very
Yeah,
impressed with him,
mm,
actually. Nick and I were very impressed with him.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it will come. It will come, Ismail. Don't.
Yeah, if you're listening, Ismail.
Yeah, I know you are, mate. I know you are.
Oh, but
Yeah.
yeah, go. Sorry, go.
No. I just wanted to say, just to add on a little bit with the
Yeah,
fullbacks. It's just
yeah.
unnecessary stuff. Unnecessary, like, obviously we're trying to play out from the back, but unnecessary touches and flicks and that. You are a fullback. Please just get the ball away from you. Uh,
Yeah.
it's unnecessary, and I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend with Ngakia that he obviously tries so hard to win the ball back, but it just feels like he gets into the player, which is fine, but then fouls them 9 times out of 10 in the most unnecessary places.
Mm.
Obviously, the one on the edge of the box, and then you give the ball to John Swift, who 9 times out of 10 will
Yeah,
score a free kick from there.
don't do that. Yeah.
And then just stuff like when it's literally in their box and we've just had a chance, and
Oh,
that frustrates me so much because it's just so unnecessary. Um, but yeah, silly fouls. Definitely, definitely something to question in the future. But we've got Andrews and Lewis, who both played against Leeds, as we'll discuss in the next couple minutes.
yep.
Yeah, so there's a definite improvement in the fullback area. Yeah, as we'll talk about. So James, I'm
Yeah.
not really sure how we talk about the first half, given Hive Live just didn't work. Um,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you managed to get on just
Yep.
before half time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that sort of 5 minutes that you managed to watch, how did you find things?
Well, ironically, from the point where I started watching, I thought Watford were a bit more sort of in the game and had a bit more control over it. We looked a bit stronger. I didn't see the first sort of 35, 40 minutes anyway, but
Yeah,
it sounded like obviously Leeds came out and were on top of us. But they looked okay, managed to get through to half time, and then made that shape change to go to sort of back three and sort of two up top with some sort of pretty useful changes, I thought. And actually, we looked a bit more threatening. We looked like we could sort of break a bit easier, and get some chances going forward, which it didn't look like we were doing at all in that first half.
yeah.
Um, and then Leeds scored those two quick goals, and that killed us. To be honest, it was a good cross from Dan James, and then shock horror. 2 minutes later, where did we see that before this week? We managed to pile in another one from a corner, free header from Sam Byram, who the last I checked isn't the tallest guy in the world.
No.
And then it's 2-0, and that's the game done, really. And then obviously the third goal was a breakaway, and sort of by that point we were just trying to chuck bodies forward to get something out of the game. So I think John Marks called it, where he said sort of 3-0 as a score line is sort of where the game was, and I think that was pretty fair. But Leeds look very good. I'm not going to lie, Leeds look really good, and they look like they look like they had something which we don't have, which is just real outright pace up front.
Yeah,
They sort of ripped us apart with is it Somerville
yeah,
and I'm going to embarrass myself because I can't remember the names now, but yeah, they look like they had some real pace up front, and we couldn't deal with it. So yeah, it was a disappointing afternoon. I think one of those results was kind of coming our way. I just hope it doesn't affect us too much.
yeah. I did just want to touch on the Leeds front line.
Mm.
I just think people like Somerville, Pirot, Jaden Anthony.
Yeah, yeah.
These are Premier League standard players, especially Somerville. Unbelievable player. He
Yeah.
genuinely will give our defenders nightmares for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he turned some of those boys inside out,
Yeah,
didn't he?
just direct running at pace, end product.
Mm.
Very impressive, very impressive, and I'm surprised that he didn't leave Leeds in the summer. But I'm sure they're grateful that he's still about. Joel Perreault, great finisher. I'm surprised he's not been picked up by a Premier League club. He's been putting the numbers in the Championship for the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching the game with our dad, obviously, and we were just having a joke about sort of Dan James having a lot of pace and no end product, and then he gets 2 assists. So sort of kind of came back to
But
bite us there.
they switched it up, didn't they? They went for crosses in the box, to be honest, because they were struggling to break through sort of centrally. So they went for that cross, and Serato was all on his own at the back, and the cross was just very, very good. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I just thought we seemed a little bit toothless going forward. Didn't really know
yeah,
what to do, and I think that kind of environment, Ellen Road's real bear pit, and I do kind of worry for the mentality going into those sort of big games against.
mm,
And obviously, I appreciate Leeds are a good side, but I do worry that we'd go
yeah,
to games at the likes of Leeds, Millwall, Sheffield Wednesday. These are teams that on paper we should be beating. But the atmosphere will be rocking, and I'm not entirely sure that we have the mindset to overcome that. Obviously, we
yeah,
did it quite well against Coventry, but if we're not getting a goal and taking control of the possession, because in the first half we had none of the ball. I was
yeah,
looking at
yeah,
stats here, like 40 minutes in, we've had 20% possession,
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
that's quite alarming because obviously the players are finely tuned in. They're used to having a lot of the ball even away from home,
hmm
just taking control of the tempo. So I think when we're sort of camped in our own box and haven't got the ball, can't get the ball out of our own half,
yeah. And
it's a
this is
little bit
and this
concerning.
yeah, and well, we've got some questions that we'll talk after the Leeds game, but I think what we lacked is somebody to hold the ball up top. Rajovic really struggled with that
Mm, mm.
um, all afternoon, in my opinion. Um, but things improved when the Crow came on. I thought
Yeah. Oh,
he was
yeah,
able
yeah.
to sort of drop in and a few flick-ons and sort of a nice couple of layoffs. But yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'm hoping that sort of enough of the mindset has been instilled in the squad that yes,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah, yeah.
3-0 defeat, but they're a good side. I hope that it doesn't affect the club too much and the team too much for the next couple of weeks.
No,
It's
no.
the sort of game where we needed to be coming into it with in good form, and I think we just let Leeds score at the wrong time.
Mm, yeah,
67 minutes. I think if it had gotten to 75, 80 and it's still 0-0, I think the Leeds fans would have got properly on top of them. I think the frustration would have grown,
yeah,
and that's where we have our chance. And obviously, Bio did have a chance, just managed to pull his shot wide from a good cross from Aspria. Where have we
yeah,
heard that before?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
yeah, a disappointing afternoon. But I'm
Mm,
I'm not
mm.
I'm not trying to get too sort of emotional about it.
No, no, no. I mean, obviously, we can't allow ourselves to be um, too angered by it, given that we come into this
Yeah,
season, particularly us on the pod. We said that we'd finish 10th to 6th,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah. Oh,
for a
yeah.
good season with
12 to 6, I think was me.
yeah with
12 to
the
5th, I think I said, yeah.
with the squad that we have, with the style of football that we'd expect to play, with the goalkeeper that we have, and I think we discussed that the style of football that we play will eventually give up chances and teams
Yeah.
would be able to punish us.
Mm.
But yeah, I think we can't be allowing ourselves to be too frustrated by it. But yeah, we pick ourselves up, we move on. I think the general consensus is that whilst we did lose 3-0, it was the first time in a while that I've not seen Twitter have a complete meltdown about a loss. I think most
No,
people are
no.
just in the view that, a rebuild is going to take 2 or 3 years. It's not just a one summer transfer window which will fix everything. But definitely the club is moving forward in the right direction. And just before we carry on with the theme of Watford moving in the right direction, I did want to say a massive shout out to Jamal Lewis. I thought he was excellent yesterday. Obviously,
Carried the ball well.
he got caught in behind him, but he looks like he knows what he's doing in the Championship. Obviously, he's had quite a lot of experience there. He's playing with Eddie Howe and stuff like that at Newcastle, so he's got experience, but he looked good. And his link-up play with Bio looked really solid. They had that one nice little interplay
very nice.
down the left side, which almost created a chance for us. But yeah, big shout out to Jamal Lewis. I think he's a definite upgrade on Morris when he comes in and starts fully fit.
Mate, I've got some questions for you.
Okay, fire away.
So, from this 3-game breakdown that we've had, who are your surprise/best performing players?
Okay.
And who are your players that require development? If we're going to be all polite about this, brackets who have been the worst players.
Okay. So best players, I'm gonna say Mateus Martins. I'm going to say Tom Ince. And I'm going to say Jamal Lewis off the bench.
Very interesting. Yeah. Why are they your picks for your most sort of surprise/best players?
Well, I think Martins has taken everyone by surprise, and everyone in the Championship, not just Watford fans. Direct, pacey, and has a lot more of an end product than he did when he was with us last season. And I just think, he's got, Udinese and Watford have got a real player on them in the future. So yeah, big player, and looking forward to having the rest of the season with him. Tom Ince, I think the goal he scored against West Brom was excellent. Some of the play he has against Birmingham, obviously he came off at half time, so I didn't see him against Leeds, but generally I think when he's on the right, I believe he should start over Asprilla. He's got a lot more experience in the Championship, which is really helpful. He's got end product. He knows what he's doing. Decision making's very sensible majority of the time. So yeah, very solid player. He's definitely one of the names on the team sheet that I see and think, I'm not disappointed with that choice. I think that he'll get a goal or an assist more so than not in the Championship in this team. And obviously, I just spoke about Jamal Lewis singing his praises.
Yeah.
Had that great run against Birmingham, which led to the second goal when he came off the bench. Just confident on the ball, confident defensively. I think that just shows everything. I think Morris can learn a lot from Jamal Lewis, so hopefully they can get together and Morris can learn from Lewis as they both push on into careers in the professional game. But yeah, very, very pleased with Lewis, and I think he's going to be a very sensible loan signing for the rest of the season. So yeah.
And what about your most disappointing players in this 3-game run?
I think I'm going to have to go with Ngak here.
Yeah.
Let me just... a controversial pick. I'm going to put Loser in there. And... a third one. That's a difficult one.
You don't have to give 3. You don't have to give me 3.
All right, I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2 because there could have been quite a few to pick from against Leeds, but so Ngak here, I've spoken about this before. He just sometimes his decision making is quite poor. Crosses into the box more so than not. The end product is quite poor. And don't get me wrong, like I'm a big fan of Ngaki. I think there is a player in him somewhere. As we've seen,
Yeah,
when he came in under Wilder, he looked like a completely different player. I just think at the moment he could be a little bit lost in this team. Solid defensively, I will give him that, but he's not had the best run of games, and it wasn't really a surprise to me that he didn't start or feature
yeah.
against Leeds.
I think
Yeah,
Ngaki's problem is that whenever there's whenever he gets a foot in the door and nailing down that starting right back spot, he'll drop a clanger, won't he?
yeah. I don't know
I
whether
don't
it's
know
just the
whether he
pressure
struggles
or something.
mentally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
which is a shame because I kind of like I like him as an individual, and he's got flashes, but yeah, he doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me.
no, no, I agree. And I think Loser could be a bit of an unpopular choice, but a lot of people are questioning him at the moment. I just think he has a tendency to go missing
Yeah,
at points in the game when in reality he should be dictating the attack. Every
yeah,
every single
I
attack through the
agree.
middle of the pitch, left, right, through the middle. It should be him, and he needs to stop dropping in so deep to receive the ball. You've got a defensive midfielder um, behind you in that midfield who should be doing that. I think Kembe is a good example of that. He's very good at picking the ball off the defence and moving it left and right. So I'll give him that. But Loser needs to stop doing that. He needs to get the ball higher up the pitch and create chances. But in my opinion, more often than not, he goes missing for large periods of the game. Then he'll usually come up with something, some kind of end product. But on the whole, I just maybe we're just too have our expectations are too high of him, given that this is his first sort of large run of games where he's not had a terrible injury that's kept him out for a long time, and maybe he's still feeling his way in the system. But I just think from that opening day against QPR where he was absolutely electric, um, he's not quite been able to replicate that form
Yeah.
since. I don't know what you think, James.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously he got the assist. I'm pretty sure he got the assist for Tom Ince's goal.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
I think we've had the same frustrations with Loser since he's been at the club, really. He'll just show flashes of brilliance, and when he's moving forward with the ball and we're on the counter, he looks like the player that you want to be on the ball because he knows where to put it. But yeah, I do agree. Part of me is thinking that the problems we've had playing out from the back is because there's no options for the defenders to sort of lay the ball off to somebody.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. Sorry if I could just jump in on
yeah,
that.
go.
In the first game against QPR,
Yeah,
yeah, he was much further up the pitch, and the defense could literally slide the ball into him, and the ball could bounce off of him and go into someone else. Whereas now he's a lot more deep, and I think you're absolutely right. The outlet from the defense is much more narrow, which probably is a reason as to why we're going side to side a lot more than we're going into the opposition half, which is quite an interesting point you say. Sorry, I
yeah.
just had to
No, no,
wanted to get in
no,
there.
bang on, mate. No, that's great. That's great. No, yeah, happy days.
Have
I'm
you
gonna give
got?
a shout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Have you got any changes for best and worst players in there?
So, surprise best players. I'm gonna chuck Dan Backman's name in the hat and
Hmm?
Serato.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
talk about
yeah, yeah,
Serato in a minute. I think it's kind of obvious why I'm talking about Dan. He gets so much stick, and people only ever look at the sort of the odd mistake that he's done here and there. But yes, he could have looked better in for that free kick. But I think I've made my points earlier. He's made some huge saves, which has absolutely earned us points. So
yeah,
just
yeah,
want to
yeah.
say, well done to him. because he's doing well. And Serato, he's really kind of making that defensive midfielder position his own at the moment, I think. He looks the most comfortable there, and I've actually been really. I think the ability to break up play is very good. I
Yeah,
like that he can drop into that back three, win headers, break up the play. But actually, on the ball, he's becoming more and more confident, which I really like. His close control is getting better. So, um, as long as he stays fit, I think that's his position now. And I don't think we see that changing. And worst performers / ones that need or concerning. The only one I'm going to chuck in there, and this is going to be an unpopular one, I think. But I've been a bit disappointed by Rajovic. Yes, he scored goals and he does sort of come alive in the box, which is I'm hearing people already shouting at me saying, "Well, that's what we want." But he looks like he struggles to get around the pitch a little bit. And his sort of hold-up play hasn't been particularly good in the last couple of games. So I do think he's probably just still adjusting to the pace and physicality of the Championship. And I think he will get there eventually because I like the look of him as a player. But I've just been wanting a little bit more from him because I think our system needs that backboard up top just to hold up the play or just to be able to bring the midfield into it. So yeah, just a little bit disappointing from him in the last couple of games, I think. But yeah, those were my two picks for
interesting
it.
points. I actually really
Yeah.
agree with Serato.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's been playing defensive midfielder his entire career. So
Yeah.
again, getting him confidence on the ball. I think it helps that he's kind of played that sort of ball playing defender position in previous seasons with Watford. So again, that close quarter control of the ball is going to improve over time. Definitely, decision making as a midfielder will improve over time. But I generally think, Ismail's decision to convert him into a DM was a very, very sensible one. And yeah, like you just said, that he can drop into in defence if required. He's very good at breaking up play. Yeah, my only concern is that he could be a little bit rash sometimes with his challenges, and sometimes it's a bit
However,
like he doesn't need to dive in because he's not a defender. There are people behind him, so. But yeah, I am a big fan of his work as the DM, and he can only get better, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I was just looking to see if he's what is. Yeah, well, he's only had one yellow card this season.
Yeah, very
which
very
is
impressive, very impressive.
which is pretty good for someone who has made 15 clearances, 69% success rate in tackles, wins half of his duels and 70% of his aerial duels. So yeah, he's playing very well at the moment, I think.
Yeah, nailing that position down. Kembe potentially could knock on the door a little bit
I think
to come off the bench.
I think Kayembe's better a bit further up the pitch actually.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
he's a bit more mobile, isn't he, going forward?
yeah,
And
we've seen glimpses of it last season, particularly at the start of the season, where he loves a roulette, does Kembe, and he can sort of move the ball quite quickly. But I think the composure he has on the ball, and the ability to move the ball from side to side without tending to lose it a lot on the ball. More so when he passes the ball, he loses the ball. But to come off the bench, it's a sturdy option. It's a sturdy option as a replacement for Serato. Livermore, I'm almost certain is just here for the dressing room at this point, given that KMB's taking his place on the bench. Which again, sensible decision from Ismail. To have those kind of more experienced pros in the dressing room, very professional.
Totally.
Yeah, very really nice and very refreshing. So yeah, but speaking of sort of these experienced professionals and the leadership group, interesting to see that Ben Hamer was dropped from the the Leeds squad for being late for a team meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that, James?
Yeah. I mean, Headmaster Ismail waves his discipline wand again.
Mm.
Which that's a weird analogy. Sorry about that. Yeah. It's kind of only just sort of really picking up on it at the time of recording, really. But yeah, it's just another sign, I think, that Ismail is in charge of his playing squad,
Mm.
and it needs to be that no one person's bigger than the team, and it could be that if you're the sort of third choice goalkeeper or second choice goalkeeper, pretty relaxed vibes. And when we've all seen the cycling GK with their
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
session, it
Yeah.
all looks very, very fun to be a goalkeeper in training. We just go and sort of have shots or pinged at you all the time. So you could have a pretty relaxed mentality. But yeah, if you're going to turn up late, then you're out of the squad. So
Mm.
another good
Mm.
sign, I think. And I think the players will respond to that. That that's the situation. And as long as it's not being too overbearing, I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of suggests like what Loser did was probably less than being late for a team meeting, given that he was still in the matchday squad.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So that actually shows that this is a very serious crackdown on any kind of rule breaking.
Yeah, which is bang on.
Which is really good for the dressing room, really good for the vibe around the club. Yeah, I'm a big fan, big fan.
Which I think that sort of last comment ties nicely into kind of where I wanted to ask you about the outlook. We talked about last 3 games: win one, draw one, lost one. We're currently 16th in the table with 9 points from 8 games.
Mm.
Albeit we're 4 points behind Sunderland, who are in fourth. But
Yeah.
we're down in the bottom half of the table. 8 games played. We've got was it 3 more games for the next international break.
Yeah.
But we're talking about another Ismail contract. Luther Blissett's come back into the fold.
Yeah.
Are you surprised at the turnaround in mentality at the club compared to last season, where I don't think anybody would have been surprised if this time last season, if Rob Edwards was in this position, he would be walking out the door.
Yeah. Well, obviously I am surprised, but I think even the Pozzos could agree that something had to change. Off the back of last season, we'd then had 2 seasons in a row of just rubbish on and off the field. If I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
So I think even their model of it's fine, we can paper over the cracks with 17 managers in a season. I don't even they were starting to think, this is not working. So I'm not surprised there has been a change, but I am very pleased that there is talks of a new contract for Valerian, and also very pleased that they've invited Luther back. He's offered on many occasions to come and help back in the club, but I think this sort of ambassador role that he's got is absolutely perfect for him. And
I think that was the biggest indicator for me that something fundamental has changed behind the scenes. That Luther's agreed to come back.
Yeah.
In a public role, because he was offered the honorary life presidency, wasn't he? Last year, and quite infamously rejected it. So clearly something has changed. And I think in his program notes for the West Brom game, he said that he'd actually sat down with Gino and had been won around. So I think that's a really good place to be in.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it all points to green shoots of recovery. And if we keep doing what we're doing, and if we just need to turn some of these draws into wins, I think it'll be a pretty positive season, all told.
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely agree. Very positive trend, very positive.
Yeah.
So, James, we'll finish off the podcast for this week with little bit of a roundup from the Watford FC women. If you want to talk us through that, James.
Yeah, well, I think the last game was last weekend. They lost 1-0 to Blackburn. I think that I was listening to From the Rookery End, and they were saying that I didn't see the highlights. I obviously didn't see the game myself, but it sounded like it was a little bit like Blackburn for the men's team all those weeks ago, where we just couldn't really manage to get that goal, which would get us back into the game in the end. So yeah, they sort of lost the game, find themselves 8th at the moment in WSL2, but next game is on the 1st of October away at Sunderland, which will be a tough game because they're up in 4th in the league. So I think they're just learning that it's a pretty cutthroat division at the moment. But fingers crossed. We've seen with their results so far this season, they've got the ability to turn in results. So hopefully they go and get something out of that game, because that'll be a massive boost for their confidence, I think, if they can get another win under their belts and move up the table.
Yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed for them. And I just did want to shout out that WD18 actually have a Watford women's show now. So if you haven't quite had your Watford FC women fix, please go and check that out. Yeah, it's really good, really interesting listen, and they definitely know what they're talking about, which is really, really good. Finally, James, did want to just give a little shout out to Kwadwo Bar, who scored his first goal for Burton in midweek.
Yeah, well done, mate. Yeah.
So again, we're seeing a sensible loan option from the club is being rewarded. Really, really positive to see. And great confidence for him as well. And it's only a league below Watford, so in the Championship. So really a good standard of football to be experiencing and scoring goals in. Yeah,
absolutely
really
right.
positive. So thank you very much for listening to the Yellow Squared podcast. Bit of a longer episode this week. Due to a little bit of a special episode with a 3-game breakdown. We do hope you have enjoyed. If you did, please do subscribe. And we will catch you again very soon with another episode. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.